So inside of the mortgage marketing animals, we have so many great classes and content that is literally designed to help you each and every day, each and every week, build a process to prospecting, consistency in what you're doing, a same way every time. And so here's what I thought I would do on Thursdays. Carl does a class on Tuesday called Lakeside Chat. Chris Johnstone does Technology Wednesday. And on Thursday, I do Loan Officer Blueprint. And that's an hour class where all of our MMA Jumpstart, our community access level, our Freedom Club, and our Leadership Academy members can all jump into a Thursday class that I talk about structure and process and framework and scripting. And so what I thought I would do is I just did a class on landing the coffee appointment. And so wanted just to share probably 20, 30 minutes of a class for you to get a sneak peek of what it's like with each, and this is just one of 3 classes in a week, and we're doing these. We probably have 12 to 15 a month. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to share a class. You'll hear some of the content, a little bit back and forth. Oftentimes somebody will have a question, but it's very intimate, very personal, tailored content to help you win at a very high level. So we're going to dive into the session I did on landing the coffee appointment. All right. Hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to dive into the topic today, which I'm really excited about. It's landing the coffee appointment. And so here's what I thought we'd do is on this, we're going to go through really when you understand the framework. Hey, and Krista, the PowerPoint's good, right? You can see that? It's all good. Okay. So when you have a process and a structure to everything that you're doing, like what I thought was this, landing the coffee appointment, when I realized there's only 7 things that we talk about some of the foundations to having a significant business. One is when you know the math, it removes any anxiety. Number 2, when I have the skill, which means I'm learning how to implement it, I lean into the discipline of doing it the same way every time. The belief begins to follow, but it's all 4 of those moving in tandem. So I thought, look, let's break down landing the coffee meeting. And so that's what we're going to do real quick. And I want to remind everybody about this. 10X is about constantly increasing the quality and decreasing the quantity of everything we do. And it doesn't mean like we don't make X number of calls. It means when we look at what we do is what I'm doing, moving the needle the most. And I look at it in a couple of categories. And this is, remember, if you brought something, I always want to encourage you, bring something where you can take notes, but the goal would be to take 1 or 2 key thoughts away. And so when I think about this, quality over quantity, I think about, is it urgent or is it important? Because urgent things happen every single day. And there's urgent things that'll hit you in the middle of making your outbound proactive calls. So I got to make sure that we're staying focused on quality, not quantity. That's where you'll hear people say, hey, I'm not closing many loans, but I am so crazy busy, or I'm doing loans, but I'm working 70 hours a week. There's typically things we can do to sharpen the quality of what we do and decrease the quantity of what we do. And so here's what we're going to cover. There's 7 things when you're landing the coffee meeting, and this is what I'm thinking about. Number 1, what are the typical results that we could expect from these coffee meetings? And what we're doing is talking primarily about agents that we know but have lost contact with, or new agents that we're going after that we want to see if there's an alignment so that we could build a significant business together. Number 2, we got to know the numbers. Like, if you're running a race and I'm running around a track and I don't know how many laps I have to complete to win that race, I got to just keep running. There's an anxiety that happens when it gets tough. There's an anxiety that happens when I get a little tired, because it's like I'm running, but where's the finish line? I'm running, but how do I know I'm winning? I'm running, but what's the pace of my lap or my mile? So when you know the numbers or you know the math, now we've got a bullseye. And here's what's great. I know that to win today's race, I got to run 2 laps. I can run 2 laps all day long. And I may not be fast at first, but the more I do it, the faster I get. The third thing is the purpose of the coffee meeting. So we're going to talk about the purpose. Then we're going to break down the easy structure. I'm going to walk you through 3 closes and also the pace of a 30-minute coffee, because look, the more you'll do, the better you'll get. And if I understand, like when I'm in a 30-minute meeting, I'm constantly not looking at my watch, but if I'm doing a Zoom or I'm being aware of the time, there's a pace to a conversation. And so we're going to walk through and break that down. And then we're number 7, we're going to go through the common objections. And here's what's great. There's not 20 of them. There's not 30 of them. There's about 4 or 5. And so that's what we're going to spend probably the last 10 minutes of the content going through. What are the common objections and how do I overcome the objection with the right rebuttal? And so, all right, we're going to dive in. Here we go. Typical results. And I'm going to use 10 because it's a very simple number. But for every 10 qualified agents that I'm meeting with, you're going to see here, you're going to get probably 2 to 3 to actively refer. Now, the QF40 means qualified focus 40 agents. So if I meet with 10, I need to know what's the typical result. Now, I'll tell you, we've seen some as low as 1. We've seen them as high as 3. The average is about 2. And so if my conversion is 0 to 1, then that's something I may need to work on my process. But I know the dashboard of the typical result and the control unit, the A control, or the thing that we're measuring our results against, is about 2 to 3 will actively refer and become a QF40. I call that a qualified focus 40 agent.
And Steve,
Now,
just so I understand, so are you saying the typical results of I actually met with them? Like
that's
these are
right.
the ones that they showed
That's
up to
right.
the, so this isn't just the ones that I'm calling, like I've met with them.
That's
This are the
right.
results of the meeting.
That's right. So
Okay. Okay.
if I've landed 10 coffee meetings, I've met with 10 agents, I can expect that 2 to 3 over the next 12 weeks of follow-up will start to actively refer me and move over to my qualified focus 40 list. And here's what we find too. The typical referrals start coming in between weeks 5, 6, 7. It was great. I was talking to somebody yesterday and she said on literally the 12th call, I hadn't talked to him. It's only been voicemails and text. He sent me my first lead. And so what we find is the 12-week follow-up, the referrals tend to start coming between weeks 5 through 7. Now, here's what's interesting too. If I know that the average qualified agent, QA, is just an abbreviation for the average qualified agent that is on my Focus 40, which means there's a relationship, they're referring me, we can expect about 2 referrals a month. So let me give you an example. If I've got 10 qualified Focus 40 agents, I'm probably getting about 20, 25 relational referrals a month. So it's about 2. Now, let me give you this caveat. Somebody may have a monster producer that is like closing 60 buy-side transactions. They've got a team, and you may get 5, 6, 7, 8 referrals from them a month. Or somebody might have somebody who's only doing 8 buy-side transactions, and you may only get 1 every other month. But on average, if I've got 10 qualified Focus 40 agents actively referring, I can expect about 20 relational referrals a month. And what's powerful about that is, like, if I've got 10 qualified Focus 40 agents and I can expect 20 relational referrals, but this month I only got 5 relational referrals, I need to check the relationship, number 1, or maybe that agent is no longer qualified. So again, it's a dashboard. It's, if I know what the typical result is, if I'm higher than that, keep doing what I'm doing. If I'm a little bit lower than that, I need to make sure that all systems are functioning correctly. And then we typically find if I get, 20 relational referrals, I'm going to fund about 5 transactions. So it's 1 out of 4 relationally referred leads. So now that I get an idea of what the typical results are, here's what I want to know is, do I know my numbers?
Hey, can I ask another
Yeah.
question?
Yeah, do it. Go for it.
Yeah. So
Here, I'll go
are
ahead.
you seeing so like in your branch, are you seeing, I know you guys are doing meetings, a lot of meetings.
Yeah,
Are you seeing, let's say we can, the meeting could be a Zoom in person or a call. Are
100%.
you seeing any big difference from one to the other these days?
No, I'll tell you, it's surprisingly, so Carl, and you and I have talked a lot about this part of it. Belly to belly is probably the highest conversion, but Zoom is very, very close to it. And we're actually seeing some people not even doing Zooms, but doing 30-minute scheduled calls. And Carl, the results are not far off of the Zoom.
Very
And
interesting.
so I'm thinking about a couple of guys that I've been working closely with, and they're doing the calls and seeing, like, remarkable results. They're not even doing Zoom to get through more of them a day. And so I think
Interesting.
belly to belly converts the most. Zoom is the second highest, and calls, man, if they're done right, they're doing pretty good.
What I'm hearing you say, they're all three pretty. Are they? You're seeing pretty close these days?
Yeah, they're real close.
Because it seems like a Zoom or a phone call would certainly be an easier yes.
Well, and you know what you're finding is if a lot of people right now are struggling with the additional time, and they don't, like, they may say, hey, I can't, one of the objections is, hey, I'm having a hard time getting to a computer to jump on a video. Great, let's just jump on a 30-minute call.
Okay.
So you're removing the barrier of having to get in front of a camera, which I love being in front of the camera. But if you
Yeah.
can't do that, get on a call and you'll see the conversion at a high level.
Yeah.
Hey,
I
Steve.
find, like, for me personally, I don't do as good on the phone. I know the two guys
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you're talking with that on the phone, like they're crushing it. They have a skill that, just being honest, I don't have. I feel like I
Mhm.
do well either in person or on Zoom. So I think I would gravitate towards Zoom
Zoom. Yeah.
because I feel comfortable when I see somebody. If I'm just talking to them on the phone, I don't know. I don't. For me, it doesn't work as well.
Hey, and Carl, you know what? I'll tell you, for ease, I tend to go phone call, but I do want to 100% validate when you see somebody over the video, there's a
Yeah.
connection that's made that you can't
Yeah.
quite make over the phone. But if you can't get the Zoom, get the phone call, because
Yeah.
the activity is what's going to drive the results.
Okay. All right.
So here's the typical results. So look, I want to go back to this. If I know what my typical results are, the next thing I got to know is what's the numbers. The numbers are this, and Krista, if you'll drop in the Fast Action 90-day plan, that link that we created, it's an automatic worksheet that'll fill it out and email it directly to you. If you don't know your numbers, which means now I know the math, now I got to know what's the target? How many qualified agents do I need to hit? Look, we're not getting qualified agents just to get them. The number of qualified agents we capture and we build relationships with directly affect the number of loans we close every single month. And so in your Fast Action 90-day plan, what you have to know is how many additional qualified Focus 40 agents are needed. So here's what the Fast Action 90-day plan looks like. And it's you put your name, email, cell phone, and then how many more units a month you want to close. So if I'm closing 10 units a month and I want to close 6 more, or I'm closing 4 units and I want to close 6 more and get to 10, or I'm closing 2 and I want to get 6 more and get to 8, you put in the number right here that you're wanting to get to. But here's what you have to know is this: if I want to consistently close 6 more funded transactions, I need about 12 qualified agent relationships that have moved into my Focus 40. So remember this for any of our new people. The Focus 40 is how I measure any qualified agent or any agent that's referring a lead to me immediately goes on my Focus 40. Now, they stay on my Focus 40 is if within 90 days we fund a transaction. But if we don't fund a transaction, they got to come off, because they may refer and then we lose touch and then they don't fund anything with me. So they refer to get on, they close within 90 days in order to stay on. And so what I'm looking for is, in this instance, when I take the obscure away and I say, man, I want to get 5 or 6, because most people say I want to get 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 more fundings a month. I would challenge you, nail one number. You can't chase 2 things, chase one. I want 6 more additional fundings in my pipeline in a short period of time. Great. What do I need? You need 12 qualified Focus 40 agents, people that are now starting to actively refer me. And what it'll do is, when you get 12, you'll get about 24 relational leads. And we know that we're funding about 1 in 4 relational referrals that come to us. And then what I love about this sheet is, look, if I've got to get 12, the next question is, well, if I want to do it in 90 days, and listen, you may say, hey, I want to do it in 6 months. You may say 90 days. Heck, we've got some guys that want to do it in a month. It doesn't matter the time, it matters the distance. Hey, let me give you an example real quick. And I know some of you have heard this, but if I'm driving to Beaumont, Texas is 100 miles away from where I live in Houston. And Carl, I'm driving to Beaumont, or I want to go to Beaumont, Texas. It's 100 miles. How long will it take me to get there? I can't hear you.
Wait, I
How,
know, I know. I actually
You,
know this one.
you know this. So if
But
or
Krista,
drop it in the chat. I want to go from Houston to Beaumont, Texas, and there's no wrong answer, but how long will it take?
depends on how you're going.
Yeah, yeah. What else? Like, what do you mean? Like how the route I take is
Or
one.
how, yeah, how fast you're going, what vehicle you're in.
There you go. Yeah, because what I hear all the time is, "Hey, how long will it take for me to get 6 more fundings a month in my pipeline?" Good question. But the better question is, well, what vehicle are you using? Am I calling realtors, past clients, CPAs, financial planners? I'm calling builders. None of them are wrong, but it's just like I could walk to Beaumont, Texas. How long would it take me? A couple of days. I could ride my bike, and if I'm Carl White, I could get there in like 6 hours. Probably better than that. His time's like remarkable. I could take a car. I could take a helicopter, or we know some people that chose to jump on a Learjet and get there in like 20 minutes. So the time is a good question, but the distance you can't say, hey, I want to get there faster, but I only want to go 50 miles because you'll only get halfway there. It's the same way when I'm trying to build 6 more fundings a month. I can't say, hey, well, but I got 6 qualified Focus 40 agents. Why am I not at 6 more fundings? Because we only went half the distance. And so where you see this right here, we built it on a 90-day plan. And if you said, hey, I want to get there in a month, the goal is you've got to meet with 5 qualified agents a week to get there in 90 days. If I want that distance to shorten and I want to jump on a Learjet, then meet with 15 qualified agents a week or 3 a day. And so just so we're very, very clear, you get to determine the pace. Some people, they really do want to take back roads and look at the history markers and learn about the oil rush that's happened in Beaumont. So they want to stop over at Spindletop and they want to kind of make this detour, which is totally cool. But what we have to remember is it's not time, it's reps. It's not time, it's distance. And what's our distance? How long does it take to get to 12 qualified Focus 40 agents that are referring us? And that's how we get 6 more relational. Now, again, you can do a CPA, a financial planner, but I want to stay on the freeway. And we know that the number one source of relational referrals by far are realtor relationships. And so that's why I'm focusing on driving through the freeway. So everybody got it? Good stuff? Okay. So let me just go back to this. We're doing what are the results, the numbers, and now when we go through here, we want to look at the purpose. The purpose of a coffee is this. We want to determine, is there an alignment and should we work together? There is a process, and I'm going to walk you through the process or the structure behind it. But just so that we're real clear, this first coffee appointment isn't to go in and start saying, because I've done it. And it's one of those things where it's like, wow, now it's just tactics. Anybody who knows me, I'm the most tactical guy. Like you tell me a problem, my mind finds a strategy and a structure and a way to fix it and solve the problem. But what it really takes is a lot of work for us to focus on the relationship to determine if there's an alignment. Because how many of us, I was talking to a couple of people this week, and it was like, man, I've talked to this guy, we met, he's really a jerk. I don't want to work with him, but he just sent me a lead. And that's where you create frustration. Or here's one. Man, there was this great couple I worked with, true story, referred me 3 to 5 transactions a month, knew them for a long time. And every weekend they wanted me at an open house. They wanted me at a builder development. They wanted me doing all this stuff. And I'm saying it goes against everything that I believe in because it's robbing from my family. And for 2 or 3 years, I did it. And I finally just said, look, good person, wrong alignment. So the purpose of the meeting is for you to learn more about them. And I'm going to show you the structure of it, but to walk away where you can say, this is a great alignment. And then they can say, wow, this is different, not better. If I got a better rate sheet, I got a better product, a better pricing, a better program. If I go tactical, I'm just trying to be better than everybody else. And when somebody's better than me, they got a shot of taking the relationship. But relationships and alignment matter more than tactics. So here's what we're doing. The relief and the aha for each one of us is this. I'm not looking for everybody. I'm looking for my 25%, my tribe. And it was the aha moment, like what Frank talked about this morning for me, was when I realized prospecting is not about cold calling. It's not about trying to wake up relationships. Prospecting is about me trying to identify the people I want to do life with that have the same vision, values, and beliefs, and we're all moving in the same direction. So the faster I make these calls, the greater my conversations are, the faster I can see, is this somebody I really want to work to earn their business? And so the purpose is about the relationship and alignment. Here's the next one, structure. Very, very simple. Like when I walk into a meeting, if I have a flow, used to I'd walk in and it's like, oh my gosh, I'd get so nervous. I don't know about you guys, but it's like, what do I say? What do I if I ask the wrong question? Oh my gosh, what if he like, and then they caught me sometimes. I don't know about y'all, but they would tell me something and I was thinking about a response. And then I would ask them about their kids again, and they'd say, I just told you that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was trying to, I was so busy and so nervous that I absolutely wasn't paying attention. And what freedom of structure does is it relieves all that. Like, here's how powerful structure is. I can walk into a meeting fully confident and fully comfortable that all I have to do is move through 4 things in 30 minutes. And listen, the first time you do it, it may take you 45. Heck, the first time I did it was an hour. And then I got to 45 and 30, and I got to where you can literally do these in 15 to 20 minutes effectively. Because what you'll realize is this, and we keep hovering around this phrase, quality versus quantity, and we would be blown away to know that you can have a deep, powerful conversation in 15 minutes where somebody walks away saying, that was one of the best meetings I've had all year. And what we do is we just follow a simple structure. So number one, we set expectations. So when I walk in, and here's how simple expectations are. I don't know about y'all, but I've walked into meetings and I'm like, oh my gosh, how long is this going to be? Like, I got a meeting right after this and I can't be late, and there's 30 minutes to drive to my next appointment. And I'm a little nervous. I'm a little anxious. My blood pressure rises, and there's anxiety because there's no expectation of time. So, in a very cool way, very simple thing. Hey, Carl, in this 30-minute coffee, and then I move straight, literally, that's a one-line phrase. Then I move straight into honor, because look, the power of honor is it lowers defenses. And when you communicate with people, whether you go to a realtor's office or whether you go to present somewhere, whether you're talking to somebody, anytime you're meeting somebody, if you can just show 15 to 30 seconds of honor. Hey, man, I've got to tell you that, Krista, I am so thrilled to be sitting in our 30-minute coffee. I was looking at your numbers, and I have to say, I was so impressed when I saw that you had done 35 buy sides. And I bet it was even more than that, because I know what I'm looking at oftentimes can be a little under. But to think that you're one of the top 4% of 1.3 million agents across the United States, and I get 30 minutes to listen to what you're doing to have great success. So simple. And it's just find a way to honor them. You know, in the beginning, I would say things like, hey, I've heard great things about you, and we got to be careful, because I got caught on that. You know what they asked? They said, hey, who told you that? What'd you hear? And I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm in trouble now. And I'm like, and I'm like, I
Busted.
will not do that again, Carl.
Busted. Yeah.
I got busted. And so find something that's honest, that's true, that you can honor them. And it's not 4 or 5 minutes. It's literally 1 or 2 sentences. And what you're doing is very intentionally, and it goes back to, remember, math, skill, discipline, belief, the skill of lowering a defense. And I've already lowered 2 defenses. One is anxiety of time. Number 2 is the greatest subject in their life is themselves, but very few top producers, just so everybody knows, they don't get a lot of accolades. They're not getting a whole lot of attaboys. And so when you're giving them an attaboy with no other agenda, I'm not trying to get in here. My number one objective, hey, listen, like here's one of the rebuttals you'll hear. I already work with another lender because they think you're trying that first meeting. I'm trying to get your business. Hey, listen, totally get it. You're absolutely crushing it. I want to hear your story, because everybody else is trying to be better to get their business. My first meeting is to be different, to see if there's an alignment. I don't even know if there's an alignment here, but I don't know unless I meet with them and hear their story. So I set expectations, I honor them. And here's the brilliance of the coffee meeting. And whether it's in person, Zoom, or phone call, if you follow the same thing, it's a formula. So when you're being curious, you can't fail in the conversation. Guess what I had to figure out? What am I going to say? What am I going to do? You only need 4 areas, and it's an acronym: family, recreation, occupation, goals. And all I've got to remember is just ask questions around those. So here's what happens. Hey, in this 30-minute coffee, so excited to meet with you. I was watching your numbers and literally just to see you're at 22 buy sides. My gosh, you're crushing it, which tells me you're one of the top 4% of agents and 1.3 million across the United States. I am so excited to hear your story. Tell me, how did you get started? That's how it's literally in 2 minutes. I'm already into the frog. And I always start with everybody's neutral conversation. See, if I went in and said, hey, tell me about your family, awkward. Hey, tell me about what you want to dream about, awkward. Tell me about what you're doing when you're not working, awkward, because there hasn't even been a depth of first conversation. But when I go into what they're passionate about anyway, it's like, hey, tell me about your story. And I'll say that. Tell me your story. How'd you get started? Like it's got to be remarkable. Tell me about that. And then they'll start to talk. And all I've got to do is be more curious about that. And here's what's interesting. What we're finding is that if I ask one question, it's surface. But if I'll have a second question or third question in each one of the frogs, I go to the next level of relationship. Because when I say, hey, tell me your story, they may stay shallow or they may go deep. I was on the call yesterday with somebody and I asked her that, and she literally went so deep in that conversation. She was telling me about how she got in. Her dad was a realtor. She passed an exam. When she passed the exam, the same day her dad died. I mean, like it went deep quick. Like it wasn't surface, it was deep. And then I can just keep going. And in a very cool way, I'm able to start building a real relationship because I'm learning the story. So, but I'll give you kind of a surface one. Hey, tell me about how you got started. Yeah, I got started about 3 or 4 years ago. Awesome. Tell me what you got to go one step deeper. Like what was it like when you got started? What tell me about the time when you closed your first transaction. And then from there, just go one question deeper and you're able to just like used to. Here's what I'd say. Awesome, you got started 2 years ago. Here's the old Steve, logic side. Wow, are you so you did 22 buy sides? Are you primarily a buyer's agent or listing agent? And I just went logic. And remember this, logic is trying to be better, not different. Relationship is different. Nobody asked them how they got started and cared enough to go to their second or third level. And so it's like, hey, tell me about the first time you closed your transaction. What was that like? As you're seeing the success, what is it doing for you? And then from there, hey, what are you doing when you're not working? I mean, you're working a lot. I can see that. Now I go straight into recreation. Hey, and then they've talked for 3 to 4 or 5 minutes about that. And I say, well, what's the dream? With all this success, as you're looking at your goals and your dreams over the next 3 to 5 years, hey, listen, we're high-fiving each other 5 years from now, and we're saying, you did it. You did it. What's that dream? And you're going to find that if I can get 3 origin stories in these meetings, there's a connection that's happening because the Princeton Neuroscience Institute proved with science, and we knew it kind of logically, but with science, they've proven that when you tell a story and specifically an origin story, or they hear stories, which I got to tell you, that's why everybody loves Carl, because of the stories he tells. When you tell a story and not logic, you can roll it back to logic, but the stories release endorphins that say, man, I like that guy. I like that girl. And so there's really science behind being curious. And the last part is close. If we have a great coffee meeting, we hear more about their story. And then I'm going to walk you through the framework next. I'm going to do the close, and then I'll show you kind of the how to build the framework of it. But here's what happens is if I have a great meeting and I don't close, in my opinion, and Carl will probably agree, is that I would just say it's almost a wasted time, because to assume a close versus asking for a commitment, we've done all this work. We've literally ran a mile around the track and we stopped 2 feet from the finish line because we didn't ask for a close. And so this is a great structure to have it. It's set expectations, honor. That's about 2 to 3 minutes. Be curious. That's about 18 to 22 minutes. And then we're going to wrap up our close and our conversation in the last 6 to 8 minutes. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So here's what the close is. So when you think about a close, there's really 3 closes that we can have. One of them is, hey, This has been a remarkable meeting because, like, I heard somebody say this yesterday. It's a little awkward. How do I transition and get into the close? Here's the way I do it. Hey, I got to tell you, this has been a remarkable man, Andrew. I got to tell you, these last, I don't know, 25 minutes, I've really enjoyed hearing your story. And I got to tell you, I love using the word now alignment. There really seems to be an alignment because alignment means there's a synergizing. Man, there seems to be such a cool alignment. I love your story. So many similar vision, values, and beliefs. Would you mind if I just followed up with you from time to time? That's one close. Michael, here's the next one. Hey, and you have to understand the dynamic of the meeting because not every meeting's the same. But look, at the end of the next one, I may feel like there's been an even like there's some buying signals, and I'm like, dude, my opportunity's here. I may jump into, hey, listen, dude, this meeting has been remarkable. I've learned more about your story, and I can see why you're passionate about helping families and the difference you're making in your community. Man, I got to tell you, I wonder if you have anybody today that I could help you get pre-approved. I would love to help you make sure it's a good use of your time. So who do you have today that I could help you get pre-approved to make sure it's a good use of your time? And we just roll into that asking for the business. And is it every time? Nope. But it's one of my 3 closes. And I've got to understand the dynamic of the meeting. And here's what I would say. If somebody says, which one do? I would rather take my shot than wonder if I could have built a relationship by asking for the business. And so for me, that's the most powerful one because this may be my only meeting. And I want the ability to know I would love the opportunity to work with you. Let me ask you this. Who do you have today that I could help you get pre-approved to make sure it's a good use of your time? And the third one that we're finding is working exceptionally well is sometimes on the bigger hitters, one meeting's not enough. And you can tell there's an alignment, there's a synergy, there's a pace to the conversation. You're like, man, we need more time. But here's the challenge. If I don't hold true to my 30 minutes, I'm telling them you can't count on me because I told them it was 30 minutes. Now, I was talking to somebody yesterday. It was literally yesterday. They said, man, the meeting went 3 hours. It's the best meeting I've ever had, coffee meeting. Maybe it was today. Um, and I got to tell you this, there may be an exception, but the way my mind works is trust is built in small kept promises. And if I said 30 minutes, I want to honor the 30 minutes. But if I know there's more to be said, I'm going to invite them to another second appointment. And what I've found works really well is the same time, same place, same day next week, because it allows us, like if they could meet at this time, this day, at this place, this week, they could do it next week. And if I feel like there needs to be an expedited timeline, I'd say, hey, listen, I know our time's up, but I would love to continue the conversation. What if we picked it back up tomorrow at 3 or Friday or next week? You pick your time because you know what? We've been focusing on the relationship side, your story, and it's been remarkable. Let's talk a little bit about business. I'd love to go deeper. You know, what I'm known for is our ability to help my realtor partners make even more money. What if we scheduled a second call or a second Zoom or a second appointment Friday at 2 p.m.? And that's the close. Good stuff. So we got 3 closes. I'm going to keep moving. Now, here's the pace of a meeting. So when I think about 30 minutes, I think about a pace. And listen, sometimes you get on pace, you get off pace. It's okay. But I'm always trying to think about the pace. The pace of a meeting for me is the first 2 to 3 minutes. I'm just trying to set expectations and honor. The 18 to 22 minutes left, I'm asking questions and getting their origin stories around frog. Because if they'll tell me, hey, what are you doing when you're not working? Man, listen, here's how powerful it is. Oh, I'm taking my son out this weekend. We're going out on the boat. Dude, that's all. Like, how did you get? The old Steve would say, what kind of boat you driving? Logic. The new Steve says, wow, tell me about the first time you were out on the boat. Because what I'm doing is I'm getting into their origin. Oh my gosh, I was 5 years old. My dad put me on a boat, threw me on the back of the tube. We all thought we were going to die. We laughed the whole time. The best weekend we ever had. That's getting deeper. And then in the last 6 to 8 minutes, one of the things we do is start just sharing a little bit about ourselves. Hey, listen, we've got about 6 to 8 minutes left, and I think it's only fair in the next few minutes we have left that I tell you a little bit about myself. Margot, would you mind if I did that? And then I just go into sharing. And I've got a class, maybe Krista, you could find the one I did a few weeks back. We talked about origin story. But for me, it's look, if they give me relationship and I give them logic, I've robbed them. And I don't, it's not wrong. You're not going to fail. But what I'm finding is it's more effective that if they give me relationship, I give them relationship back. Hey, listen, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'd love to take a couple of minutes. I remember growing up, and I start into a story that has significance for me and leads to one of my core values that for me is this is a calling. And so and it doesn't matter where you go. It matters that we give relationship, and then we close. And if you say, "Hey, I can't do it," that's okay. Give what you've got the last 6 to 8 minutes. But what I'm finding is when we go deeper in relationship, we just say, "Hey, man, I'd love to tell you a little bit about myself and maybe how I got started in the business and why this is so important to me." Not about products and programs, but about who we are and why this business is important to us. And then at the end, we just close. And one of the three closes that we use, it's either follow up from time to time, ask for the business, or schedule the second appointment. And so I think it's really important as we go through these, we got typical results, the numbers, the purpose, the structure, the close, the pace. Here's the last one. What are the common objections? And what I love about this is there's not 22, there's only about 4 or 5. And what I was thinking about is, hey, I'm busy, right? You're going to hear somebody call and you say, "Hey, I'd love to connect with you, hear more about your story. I'm a student of success. I would love to grab coffee." "Hey, yeah, get it. I'm busy." Or, "Hey, yeah, I've already got another lender." Or, "Hey, you're the fourth lender that's called me this week." Or, "I'm not interested," or, "Just send me an email." And let me just say this real quick because I'll walk through them quickly. And if you've got another objection, we may have a couple of minutes. I can do that. But here's what happens is when you walk into a department store, and this is what I think is really powerful. So look, if I walk into a department store, and let's say this, Margot, I see you. So, hey, I walk into a department store, or you walk in, I'm the salesperson. So you go to Saks or Nordstrom's or J.C. Penney's or Dillard's or wherever you go. You walk in, the attendant walks up, and what do they say? "Hey, can I help you?" And you just tell me what?
I'm just looking.
Now, let me ask you this with a show of hands. Everybody, would you say that when you walk in a department store? How many would say, "I'm just looking"? Why do we do that? Because we're trained that most people will never ask a second question, right? What do they typically do? "All right, well, if you need some help, just let me know," right?
Right.
Which is what we do on the phone. "Hey, I'd love to schedule a 30-minute coffee to hear more about what you're doing and to see this. I'm looking at your numbers, 22 buy sides, you're crushing it. I'm a student of success. I would love to invest 30 minutes and hear more about what you're doing and have great success." "Oh, I'm busy." I'm just looking. And what do most people say? "Okay, all right. Hey, well, listen, if it ever slows up, call me back." Or, it's like that. "I'm just looking." So how do we get past the attendant? And how do we get past the first pushback? Because it's a natural pushback. Everybody does it. "Hey, I'm just looking." I bet everybody who walks in a department store says, "No, I'm just looking." But you're not just looking. You're there because you need to buy something. They're in this business and they need a lender. And their lender may have just messed up, but they're going to say, "Nope, I'm busy. Nope, already got another lender. Nope, you're the fourth person called me this week. Nope, I'm not interested. Hey, just send me an email." All that is just saying, "I'm not interested. I'm just looking." So, Margot, "Hey, girl, can I help you with something?" You tell me. I'm just.
I tell you, I'm just looking. I don't need any help.
"Hey, Margot, let me ask you this. Are you looking for shoes or for belts?"
I'm looking for shoes.
"Hey, would you mind if I just walked you over to the shoe department to help you pick out a pair, or at least get you connected with the right person to help you pick out a pair of shoes?"
Sure, that'd be great.
So what I did was, because I have a skill of asking the next question, I can at least get a further conversation. You're not going to win every one of them, but what we're doing is we're pushing past "I'm just looking." "Hey, I'm busy." Of course you're busy. All great agents are busy. What I typically find is most agents aren't scheduled 2 weeks out. What if we book a time in 2 weeks from now where I can hear more about what you're doing to have great success? Guess what? Will it convert every time? Nope. But I asked her, "Are you looking for belts or shoes?" At least I didn't stop and say, "Oh man," because what I'm doing is at least going past the first "I'm just looking." And so when we go back to this part where we're saying, "Okay, what are the common objections?" "I'm busy." Of course you're busy. Like, take the air out of the tire. What I find is most people are not scheduled 2 weeks out. What if we put a time 2 weeks from now where I could still hear what it is you're having a great success? And then here may be the next objection. "Hey, Steve, I totally get it. I'm really busy, but I've already got another lender." Of course, you've got another lender. Great agents have lenders. My purpose of the meeting is to hear your story. I looked at your numbers. You're at 22 buy sides. And I got to tell you, I am so curious about what a top producing 4%, it means you're the best of the best of the best out of 1.3 million agents. I've got to hear your story. What if we book a time and I throw it out there? Hey, no, you're the fourth lender that's called. I know, but I'm not trying to be better. I'm different than everybody else. I want to hear your story. No, I'm not interested. Okay, well, would you mind if I follow up from time to time? And all I've done is instead of allowing the rebuttal to say, I'm just looking, I'm going to say, are you looking for shoes or belts? No, I'm just looking. Yeah, but you came in for a reason. What I would love to know is there something I can walk you to and help you get great service? Like at least go past the first, I'm just looking. And look, you're not going to get them every time. But when I know there's only 4 or 5 and there's only 4 or 5 real rebuttals, it's funny. Carl and I at the boot camps, we show this text slide that we literally sent out these texts, and it's the same exact text every single time. And the first time they always say, hey, thanks, but I'm super loyal to my person. And then we send a very simple rebuttal back and they say, you're so persistent. How about tomorrow at 2? And the funniest thing is it's typically past, I'm just looking. And if we can find how to say red shoe or looking for shoes or belts, we get at least the opportunity to convert more of those conversations. Good stuff. All right. Hey, let me just go over the last part of this, which is just remember this. What we're doing here is we've covered the typical results, the numbers, the purpose, the structure, how to close, the pace of the conversation, and common objections. And remember this, it's easy to be great. All we have to do is just take one extra step in landing the coffee meeting. All right. I hope you enjoyed it. Landing the coffee appointment. It is such a simple framework, but very, very effective on how to build more authentic, meaningful relationships that'll help you in your business do even more. Because here's what we know. The more strategic qualified agent appointments we have or agent relationships we have, the more relational referrals we'll get, which will lead to closings and fundings. And so I hope you enjoyed the training. If you want to hear more or learn more about our membership at the Mortgage Marketing Animals, go to freedomplanningcall.com, freedomplanningcall.com, where my team and I will meet with you. Let us show you a little bit behind the scenes of what we're doing to help link arms and partner with loan originators across the country that are seeing their best months ever. I'm thinking about so many members who started this year, multi-years in the business, 10, 15, 20, January, February, March, doing 2 or 3, 4 units a month, now doing 12, 13, 15, 22 units a month because of using framework, leaning into a community, leaning into relationships like this. We'd love to be a part of your journey, your story, and invite you into a community that is setting records and having a lot of fun doing it. Go to freedomplanningcall.com. Remember this, anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Just get started. See ya.